Formula One drivers, you do get one or two that are, really serious and don't like a lot of fun. But one of the fellas that I work with at a couple of teams, basically Leighton House in '88 and '89, was a Brazilian guy called Mauricio Gugelmin. Now, Mauricio was best friends really with Ayrton Senna. They shared a house together in Surrey when Ayrton came over to the UK, and being obviously both Brazilian, they helped each other out a lot. Mauricio was racing in Formula 3000, I think, with West Surrey Racing. Ayrton was obviously doing really well. Started with Lotus in '85 and then moved on to McLaren in '88, '89 and what have you. But anyway, with Mauricio, again, he was always good for a laugh. And one of the real things that I remember about him was an episode that we had in South Wales at Pembrey, which was a test track down there. Mauricio had taken the car out for some installation laps, and he came back into the pit lane and he said, "I'm not going out there again." He said, "The snake's on the circuit." And we sort of said, "What?" And he says, "Yeah," he says, "I've seen a big snake on the circuit." He says, "I absolutely hate snakes." So we said, "Okay, well, we're in this kind of vicinity. We need to carry on testing." So he went out again on a couple of runs, and I thought this is probably a good time to sort of play a bit of fun on the guy. And so what I did, I got one of those elastic bungee cords. I think it was a yellow and black one, and I taped a bit of a head on it and put a couple of eyes on there, and I kept it in my pocket. And then when Mauricio came round after doing a few laps, he came into the pit lane, and I knelt down by the side pod of the car and pretended to clear the side pods out of leaves or grass or anything like that. But what I did, I'd got this snake, shall we call it, in my pocket, and I just dropped it into Mauricio's lap. And you've never seen a guy exit a car so quickly in all your life. I mean, he got the belts off. He was out of that car probably in about 2 seconds flat. And he chased me down the pit lane. And he was a lot quicker and more hefty than me. And he got me down, and I paid the price for that one. But that was a hell of a laugh. But we parted ways for a couple of years. And I ended up working again with Mauricio at Jordan when I was working for Yamaha. Well, one of my jobs during a race weekend was, during qualifying, was to go down to the end of the pit lane with the air bottle and the starter for the car. And whenever a car was called in for a weight check, they would push the car up onto the scales, do the weight, give the driver the bit of paper with his weight on, and as I say, it was my job to restart the car. Well, Mauricio must have been working this one out, because as he turned the engine off on the car, he must have been blipping the throttle all the way through that. And he was the procedure was finished. They gave him his piece of paper with the weight on. I plugged the starter back into the car and fired it up, only to be met by a great big sheet of flame coming out of the exhaust of the car. Now, I wasn't wearing any fireproof overalls or anything. It was Brazil, it was hot, and we were in shorts. And the flames from the exhaust of this car shot out and took all the hairs off my legs, and you could smell them for quite a bit. It was fortunate I wasn't sort of, burned any worse than that, really. But I got back to the garage, and of course I saw Mauricio after the session, and I said, "You bastard," I said, "you knew what you were doing there." And he says, "Ed," he says, "I've never forgotten about that snake at Pembury." And he said, "And I was always going to get you back someday." Okay, anyway, this is Ed Taylor. My channel is No Team Orders, and we're telling you silly stories about Formula One back in the 80s and 90s. So I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you're going to watch some more of them. Cheers.